Steve Dotto. Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? I am thrilled you are joining us, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday, which will begin in just a few moments. But before we begin, let me get a few administrative details out of the way so we don't have to clutter up the time during the actual webinar. First, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available in replay on both Facebook and on YouTube. We leave the replays available to you for 1 week after the webinar is broadcast, and then after that we take the webinars and we archive them for the purpose of our patrons. More on that in a few moments. Every week we host these free webinars. They are on topics around productivity, content creation, and a little bit in online marketing. They're available to you free of charge. However, we are a community-funded channel and we appreciate your support. And you can show your support in 3 ways. The first way is what you're doing right now, just being here, commenting, sharing it with others, being a part of our community. We appreciate that. But in a more practical sense, you can also support us through the Super Chat, which is available to those of you viewing on YouTube. You can always give us a tip if you find something incredibly valuable in what we share. But our main way that we support the Dotto Tech channel and Webinar Wednesday in particular is through the generosity of our Patreon community. If you drop by patreon.com/DottoTech, you can support us financially on a monthly basis here, keeping Webinar Wednesday on the air. But there are perks. Oh, indeed, there are some fantastic perks. The most important of which is we archive each and every one of these tutorial webinars, and the entire catalog is available to our patrons. Now, sit back and relax. We appreciate you being here, one and all, and today's webinar is going to be something special starting in just a few moments. Steve Dotto here. How the heck is everybody doing this fine day? What a scramble backstage before we went live today.
You were fine.
It was a little bit of an adventure. And just as I logged in and prepared the video that's going to be streaming today, I got a notification from Restream that due to some upgrades in Chrome, that Chrome is not stable for playing back video. So they recommended we go over to Firefox. So everything had to shift over all of a sudden, just in a flurry. Hey everybody, how the heck are you doing? And welcome to Webinar Wednesday this week. Oh, interesting. I have the wrong background up. There we go. There we go. All right, practical and effective productivity tips. That's our topic today. Although I think I have the wrong number in. I said 151. I'm getting confused with my numbers. I think it's actually 156. So there's a typo here.
Today. Yes.
But right beneath that typo is a very important fact that our video today, our live stream today, is brought to you by our partners at Restream, which is the technology which is making all of this able to be delivered to you over YouTube Live, Facebook Live, wherever you happen to be watching. If you're interested in getting into the world of live streaming, there is no easier way than using Restream Studio. You can multicast to multiple platforms as we are doing, and they have a studio that allows you to incorporate graphics, incorporate overlays, incorporate video. All of that is we're basically using this tool for broadcasting to you today. So restream.io, thank you so much. April will have dropped links in the chat if you are interested in finding out more. Now, how do I look? Do I look pretty good? Because I have a slightly different setup.
So,
I've got the.
You're asking. No, I'm just kidding.
I've got the old camera. I've got the old camera set up. Let me see if I can switch cameras. I'm gonna take a chance here, because I've been setting up. We've been setting things up. There we go. There's a new camera. One of the new cameras. One of the new setups. Is that better? That look better? It's a little darker. I got to adjust the brightness of it just a little bit. But that's our new camera. We've got the DSLR setup. We're going through Blackmagic now. We've got the A10 Mini Pro all set up. So we have a different audio setup too. So I'll be interested in monitoring and seeing how good the audio was from today's broadcast for us. So at any rate, how's everybody? So how are you doing, April? Are you settled in? You know what? You know why everything seems all kind of akimbo today?
Why? Because it's Thursday.
Because it's Thursday.
Yes.
It's Webinar Wednesday on Thursday. We had to make way for the inauguration yesterday. Thankfully, it seemed to go off without a hitch. There was no drama attached other than the intrinsic drama of a new president coming in. But we did take the day off for that. So it feels kind of strange to be here on Thursday. But I think you're going to be happy that you're here with us because we have a great show lined up. I see the question, where's Farley? Farley's downstairs. We've got, with COVID and all the shutdowns and all of the stuff going on, we have a busy house. So hopefully I'm not going to get interrupted today. So Farley has other places to be other than just hanging out with me today. But trust me, he is in fine form. He's probably causing chaos somewhere else in the house right now. So here's the topic today. Here's what's going to happen. Today we're going to be talking about practical and effective productivity for 2021. I wanted to make January as much as possible talking about our habits and talking about us becoming more efficient and productive. There's a lot in our life that's out of our control, and all the stuff that's out of our control, I think, it's definitely affecting our sense of well-being, which we talked about a little bit last week, but it's also affected our productivity dramatically. It's affected how efficient we are. And even though there's more time spent probably sitting at the desk and staring at a computer screen, I think universally we feel like we're getting less done. And it's a bit of a challenge. So I dedicated this episode today to just taking a look at what the experts out there are telling us. Nothing major. Nothing that you have to really work your head around, but little things, almost like life hacks, little things that we can do that will increase our productivity. And it ended up being a bit more of an opus than I thought. The video today is a little on the long side. It's around 30 minutes, I think. So it's a little longer than normal. But there were just so many really good little ideas and so many thoughts, and I kind of went down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes on productivity. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope you find value. So what's going to happen for those of you who are new to us here on Webinar Wednesday, each week we deliver one of these webinars for free, and they're tutorial in nature. We're not typically selling anything within them. We're just trying to educate you in some aspect of productivity, content creation, or online marketing. And today it's all about the productivity, of course. I pre-record the main demo, which I will be playing for you in just a few moments. While it's playing, April and I will be in chat. We'll be answering as many questions as we can inside of the chat. But once the video is over, we'll return and we'll answer as many other questions through to the top of the hour as we can that you have. You can help us by demarking, by putting the word question in front of questions that you have so that we can identify them as questions a little bit more easily. Because we are just in the social platforms and we're live streaming, we don't have a way of easily identifying questions, so we have to visually scan them. So you can help April out by putting the word question in front as you go along. Now there'll be a replay. The replay will be available on your channel of choice almost immediately after today's webinar. And I've started to create a pretty detailed support document, which you'll see on screen through as we kind of run through the script, but it's got all of the links, it's got all of the resources that I share with you here during today's webinar. If you registered for our webinar, you will automatically receive the email with this copy. But if you came to us just through social because you saw that we're live streaming and you visited, but you didn't actually share your email address with us, we can't send the email to you because we don't know your email address. So if you want the note, this shared note, April will drop a link in. Please enter your email address there and we will send out this note to you as soon as the webinar is finished. It'll be available to you for a week. Excuse me. After which we archive it. And it's still available, but it's available to our patrons. As I mentioned off the top, Dottotech is a channel that's supported through the generosity of our community on Patreon. There's a lot of you here right now. Hi, patrons. How the heck you doing? It's good to see you all here, but we would not be here without your generous support. And for $10 a month, which is what most of our patrons supply, they keep us on the air. There are some perks such as price reductions on our different courses, but the most important perk that our patrons get is they get access to our Webinar Wednesday replay archives. And this is, as I say, I think this is our 156th. Of these, so those archives are in place for our patrons to peruse at their leisure. So, did I miss anything, April? Are we ready to go?
I think we're ready to go.
Okay, let's jump into it. Sorry.
I think you had like a coffee before that conversation.
I think whenever you have to change things up last minute, it just increases the anxiety.
You did great.
Actually, one of the tips I give in this today is I'm talking about the importance of breathing. Maybe
I think breathing
is going to help me right now. I should have breathed before. It would have been a good thing to do. All right. Let's get to this. We will see you folks on the other side of the video. Let's talk about practical and effective productivity tips for 2021. Okay, the overarching theme that I was going to try and present today is little things that we can do that will make us more productive this year. Just small changes, not massive changes, not embracing entire new systems, but just little things that you can do that'll make changes. So you aren't going to do everything that I'm listing out today and showing you, but hopefully one or two things will stick and will just add that extra bit of productivity to the year 2021. Does it sound like a plan? Shall we dive in? We're going to look at three aspects. We're going to talk about the technology itself, different technology pieces, as you'd expect from me. We are going to talk about mindset, about things that we can do that make us more productive through attitude alone. It should be so easy, should it not? And also changing habits, the most difficult. Technology is pretty easy. Mindset, I think, should be easy, but I'm not sure it is. Habits are the hardest to change. But if you get into good habits, they end up giving you the most long-term benefit. But we'll begin talking about technology. And one of my favorite things to do is to create templates wherever I can. This note that I'm going to be sharing with you that we're now incorporated here into Webinar Wednesday each week. This note is based on a template. I've created a template so that I've got the form predefined before I ever start working on today's video. I have it for my podcast. I have it for my videos. We use Asana. We use templates within Asana. Our team does for all of our different projects. For every piece of publishing content that we have a template that we open, and that has all of the different tasks that have to be accomplished in order for us to complete the project itself. So wherever it's repeatable work, wherever you can use templates. In email, I've shown you over and over again how to use templates within Gmail. Find those places, use those templates, invest some time up front, and use the templates to save time later. Last place, one other place we use it is Canva. We create so many little graphics for the thumbnail images, for our videos, for the tutorials that we do. So Liz has created an entire template library so she doesn't have to create the graphic each and every time, but I can go in, change the words, change the date, change the time, change the title, and I can create my own, I can create the graphic that I need to support whatever it is that I'm working on at that particular time. Huge time savers. And if you do it right, not only do this proper use of templates save you time, but this is key. They also make you do better work, or help you do better work, because with the template, all of your assets, all of the aspects are covered. So you go through it and you make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted, because you've got the template to work from. Tip number 2. And I do like this one. Use video. Obviously, I love using video as much as possible. I feel more comfortable communicating by video than any other form. So if you are like me, some people find communicating by writing to be very effective and very fast. And good on you. There's still obviously a huge place for that. But look for some opportunities to use video in your communications instead of writing, especially in email. So a tool like Loom. I've got a video here where I showed you how to use Loom for teachers. There's a couple of different of these video email applications. The main concept here, though, is that you record a video to the web. It's a quick little video. It can be just your screen, or it can be just your camera, or it can be a meld of your screen and camera. You record it to the web, so you send the people a link so they can view the video in their own browser rather than embedding a video in the email. This makes the videos very small, and it's very convenient for you for sending quick little messages. And I think if you start to embrace using a tool like Loom for sending your email messages for clarity, and if you can communicate more effectively with a short video, that you're going to save yourself a lot of time. Now, there's a little bit of a trade-off here in the fact that people can't browse through your video really fast the way that they can scan through an email. So you are offloading a little bit of your productivity by charging whoever it is you're sending the content to the video. But if the information is more easily digestible, if there's extra clarity to it, I think it's well worth the effort. So use video where you can. Saving keystrokes. We talk about this several times a year. A keyboard tool like a macro tool, like I use TextExpander, and we've got a video on TextExpander. These keyboard shortcut tools, or these keyboard expansion tools, and Active Words in Windows, we've got a great member of our community, Buzz, who works with ActiveWords. These tools can save you so much time. And not only do they save you time, but they make you more effective, an effective communicator because you're communicating the right information and you're not taking shortcuts for communicating information. Essentially what happens is you assign a keyboard shortcut with some sort of a like a pound key before, and then it expands into, it's sort of like having a template, it expands into a longer form, but for saving things like lists of URLs, or even for introductory paragraphs, for all sorts of different purposes like that, a text expansion tool it becomes invaluable. When I set up a new Mac, I think the first thing I install is LastPass. The first thing I install is my password tool. The second thing I install is my keyboard expansion tool. And we use TextExpander, as I say. ActiveWords, another great option if you're in Windows. They are tools that will just save you so much time. The video just opens a little crack of the ways that you can use it. Some people use it way beyond the level that I'm even using it at. So check out keyboard expansion tools. And the kiss and cousin of keyboard expansion tools are learning your keyboard shortcuts for the tools that you use. For whatever application you use, memorizing the keyboard shortcut so you don't go to the menu, staying on keyboard is going to save you a lot of time. Now that's practical from one perspective, if you use the same application over and over again, and if you're on keyboard, of course. But there are other kind of related tools that I think I'm personally finding are really improving my productivity, and the biggest of that is using this Elgato Stream Deck that I've got. It's basically a keyboard macro tool where you assign different processes to the different keys that are on it. And let me just open the management tool here for you. If I go into configure Stream Deck, you see here that you can see the Stream Deck, you can see the different buttons that I have. And actually, I've been just reorganizing them again. I get kind of inspired to play with it, and I've been kicking around doing a video on it. But I found a really good video that I will share with you here in the document where somebody shows using the Elgato Stream Deck for productivity. Because the word Stream Deck makes people think, oh, it's just for live streamers. It's just for people who are streaming, but it's not. I use it more for other purposes than I do for the actual live streaming. So here, what you see here in the very top level, these are buttons that take me to different locations. You can see here, if I click on a button that I have the option, if I go in to program that option, I just go here in the Stream Deck. And under system here, this tells me where I'm going to go. So if I want to have this direct me to a website, I simply drag the command over top, give it a title. You can give it an icon, which is a lot of fun because you make your Stream Deck look the way you want. And then you point it to a URL. So it will actually then go and launch that URL. Where is that useful? Well, if you take a look at the ones that I have built here, I've built one to go to my Creator Studio, which will launch the YouTube Creator Studio, which I have to go into when anytime I'm managing my YouTube account. So rather than going to the browser menu and hunting in or typing in the URL, I just hit that button and I go. Now, going top level, that's one thing where you go to like the Creator Studio. But far more useful is going into something like YouTube comments, which I would have to normally open YouTube, open the Creator Studio, and then click on the sidebar to get to comments when I want to check my comments, which I will do several times a day. I just hit that button here, this button here, and it takes me right to that page. That is a big time saver. Now, big, what are we talking about big? Saves me 25 or 30 seconds, but it saves me 25 or 30 seconds 2 times a day. It's a minute a day. 7 minutes a week. It adds up over time. And it's just one of how many times do I do that? Maybe 5 or 6 different sites that I go to on a regular basis. And using the keyboard, this as a shortcut tool to get to those, probably ends up saving me 5 to 10 minutes of time a day. Plus the convenience, just the fact that I don't have to think, I don't have to hunt around. It's just I know exactly where to go. Just go boom, click on that button and I go. Websites are one thing, but you can also use it if you take a look here. See this open command? Here's another one. You go open, and then you go in and you choose from your applications, from all of your different applications, what application you want to open. So again, rather than opening an application with a keyboard and mouse or typing it in search, you just hit the button. So the tools that I use the most, you can see right here: my audio editing tool, my screencasting tool, my live streaming tool, Handbrake, which I use to compress all of my videos, the tools that I use most often. And you can create multiple levels. See this one here, one that says productivity, it's not actually a button, but if we double click on it and go into it, it takes me into all of my productivity applications. So if I want to open Evernote, rather than doing it again from the keyboard or from clicking a mouse, I just hit the button here and Evernote opens. Same with Asana, same with Google Drive, same with my CRM, all of those tools I can open very quickly right from within here. Saving keystrokes wherever you can. Another way that you can do that is through automating file management. And I use a tool on the Mac called Hazel. There's a very similar tool in Windows called Filejugger that allows you to automate tasks that you do over and over again. So what's an example? Well, I show you in the video, if you take a look at this video, how when we edit a video, when we create a video, I have to take that video, I have to compress it, I have to upload it to Dropbox to let Liz know. So there's a multiple step series with a fairly long pause between the different tasks. That's one of the keys to efficiency. If you've got something where you start a process, but then you have to wait for the computer to complete the process, say rendering a file or compressing a file, and then you've got to take that said file and you've got to move it somewhere else, you've got 2 points of contact in the process that may only take a few seconds. Click start compress, wait 10 minutes, upload to Dropbox. But that's 2 times that you break the flow of your routine. You can get interrupted, you can forget about it, can end up taking time. So these processes where there's some processing between the two, they can be a huge productivity boost if you can automate the process. That's what a tool like Hazel does. Some people use it for renaming files and for organizing files, all of those things. I find a tool like this incredibly valuable when there is an intermediate process that is automatic but being done that you have to wait for. And this is a theme that will carry through. Look for these opportunities where you start a project or you start a process, have to wait for something else to happen, and then finish the process and look for ways to automate that. What Hazel and Filejugger do is they will automate those processes for us. Let's talk about password management as a productivity tool. And there is obviously some economies of scale to having all of your passwords in one place and the convenience of having a password management tool filling in all of your different passwords for your different accounts, as well as, of course, the security aspect, which is an entirely different conversation. But I just want you to think about one thing. For those of you who still try and remember passwords or use some other system rather than a password manager, how often do you have to recover your password? How often do you sit there and go, I've lost that password? So you start the password recovery process. Now you have to think about how much time this takes. Is this once a week, once a month? I suspect it's more often than you probably realize. And again, it is one of those processes that has multiple phases that you have to remain engaged throughout, and it takes you out of the flow of work each time you pass one of the phases. You want to log into a piece of software that you have a license for. You can't remember the password, so you click password recovery. Now you've got to wait for that service to send you the new password. So that sometimes will take anywhere between, what's a short time? 45, 50 seconds, and you probably go to your email and you check your inbox. If it's not there inside of 2 minutes, which it's often not, you go, oh, I wonder if it's sent yet. So now you go into your spam folder, you go into your different inboxes to make sure that the software has sent it to you. And if it hasn't sent it to you in about 2 or 3 minutes, you start to worry and you start to. Now you're actively engaged in recovering a password for most of this time. Even if you pop in and out of other things, perhaps an email you're writing, it's interrupting the flow as you go in and out and in and out until that password recovery link finally arrives in your inbox. And how often does this happen? Where you have waited for 4 or 5 minutes, you go, oh geez, okay, I'm gonna go get a coffee and come back, and by then it should be here. So you go get a coffee, you come back. In the meantime, something else has happened, so you've forgotten about what the task you're on. This happens to me, I'm sure it happens to you. So you go off and do something else, and suddenly it's an hour and a half later, and you go, I should see if that emails there. You go into your email software. There's the recovery link. You click on it, but guess what? It has expired. What a colossal waste of time. Even if that happens just once a month, I bet on minimum you lose 20 minutes of productivity recovering a password. So for that reason alone, a password recovery tool, a password management tool is well worth the investment, not even speaking about all of the benefits of security and other conveniences. Now, people always ask me which one I recommend, and I always feel a little uninformed in making a recommendation. I tell people what we use, which we use LastPass. We've used it for a long time. For a period of time, we used 1Password, which I liked a lot, but eventually we went back to LastPass. And the reasons don't matter of why we made those changes in the past. Password management software, once you've made a commitment to one platform, it's going to be very difficult to change off. There's going to have to be a really good reason to move off because it's entrenched in your system. And all of us within the Dottotech team use LastPass. So the group sharing functionality of me giving access to April or Liz if they need access to different accounts is a boon for us. It's something that works really well. Now, because I haven't had time to test out all of the other ones, I'm reticent to recommend, but I found a very good article by Wired, who I trust, rating the top password managers in a variety of different areas. So I've got them rated here. They got 1Password, Bitwarden, Dashlane, KeePass, NorPass, which is a brand new contender, and LastPass. Now they've rated them as best one for under $100, or best one that's free, or best one that, these sorts of things. So they're kind of couching their bet as to saying which one is the best, because nobody can really tell which one is the best. And even if the one is the best, it's best until somebody hacks it or it has a problem, in which case it's not the best anymore. So choosing any from this list, and only one of them I have a link to, which is LastPass, which is an affiliate link. But read through this article, choosing any from here or another highly recommended password manager. I just want you to use one. Don't really care which one it is, but engage in one. With one caveat, I would rather use a dedicated password manager than the built-in browsers password managers, because there's just way too many concerns that I have about that. Again, we're not going to go into that in detail right now, but pick a password manager, use a password manager. It will save you time. So that's it for the tech. Let's start talking now a little bit about mindset and then talk about habits. And hopefully one or two things in here will plant a seed for things that you can make changes. And just a few of these will make a big difference, I believe, in your productivity over the course of a year. And the first is a great quote from Mark Twain, which is, "Eat a live frog first thing in the morning and nothing worse will happen to you for the rest of the day." And so this is a philosophy called eat the frog first. And what the heck does that mean? It means always at the beginning of the day, when your energy is highest, do the least tasteful task, because it's the worst thing that's going to happen all day long. Get it out of the way. When I was a kid, I hated vegetables. And when I was served a meal, I always left the best part of the meal, usually the meat, to the end of the meal and ate the things that I liked the least or didn't like. I would eat those first. This is when I was disciplined. Sometimes I would go the opposite direction, which was hell. But if you take care of the most distasteful task first, then the rest of the day are things that you can look forward to. And so this is a great philosophy. Every day, just pick what's the worst thing that I got to do today? What's the thing I'm least looking forward to? Do it. Get it out of the way and get on with the day. For some people, it's not even a work-related thing. For some people, exercise is hard, so going to the gym first thing in the morning. If they do it, it's done, and it's not looming over your head all day long. I think that's the key, is if a distasteful task is on the horizon, it's something that you're dreading all day long. The day before going to the dentist, terrible day, because tomorrow I got to go to the dentist. Day after the dentist is great, because the dentist is in the rearview mirror. So put those things in the rearview mirror as quickly as possible. The second is I believe, increasingly becoming a bit of an epidemic. And that is because we work from home and we often, we're working kind of to our own deadlines. We often don't ever look at anything as done, and we keep revisioning and polishing. There's insecurity that's related. There's all sorts of things that cause us to keep working on work longer and putting more energy and effort into making something perfect that doesn't have to be perfect. Content creators, this is a real problem for, is we will constantly, I can tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've recorded an entire podcast, looked at it and go, nope, start it over again. And I'll just throw it in the trash. And I know that if I waited a day to edit that podcast and then edited it, I would go, wow, that's a lot better than I remembered. Get things done. Done is better than perfect, especially for those of us in the content creation place. Do a good job, be erstwhile. I mean, don't slack, but do your best job. Put it forward. And if somebody rejects it, chances are they're not somebody that you're going to want to be doing business with anyways. Their standards are going to be too high. Every time I create one of these videos for Webinar Wednesday, I have insecurity. I would like to do things better. When I watch it, I say, I wish I'd explained that. I wish I'd included this product. I wish I'd done things different, but it's done. And you appreciate it because done is better than perfect. You like the fact that I've delivered it rather than polished it and never released it. So embrace the philosophy of done is better than perfect. Another one that I find difficult, and I think a lot of us do, especially in the world where we have so much insecurity as far as upcoming income, etc., is learning to say no, learning what to say no to, and learning how to respect your time, and in just the ability and the confidence to say no and know that the right things will come to you. I think a lot of us work from an aspect of constant panic and perhaps desperation. And so whenever any opportunity comes along, we are reticent to say no. Somebody says they would like us to consider doing something, to put a proposal forward, even though we know it's not a good fit or it's something that we really don't want to do or that we don't have a chance to win, we still do it because we haven't learned to say no. I don't know where you start. Whether it's the best place to start is inside of your organization, saying no to others who you work with, which is probably a good thing to do, but could cause some strife. Maybe it's in your personal life, learning to say no. Maybe it's in your outward-looking business life, learning to say no to clients, firing the odd client even. That doesn't work. That isn't working well for you. But learning to say no to the right things is, I believe, one of the hallmarks that separates really successful people from the rest of us. Everybody who I see in my space, when I listen to their things that I learned that I wish I knew when I was starting out, they all say that they say no to a lot as they grow, and it's important to learn to say no. So let's learn to say no. That's next. Along that line, I found some good articles which I'll share with you. People create a stop doing list. I never thought of doing a stop doing list, but I'm not much of a list person. If you are a list person, maybe you have done a stop doing list, but there are, and as I researched the stop doing list idea, I find that there's a lot out there of people doing that, of the people looking for it. And it's not just in business, but in self-improvement, things to stop doing yourself. And I know that I get mad at people that say, I'm too stupid too. And I say, please stop doing that. And so we often fall into habits, things that we do over and over again that reinforce negative sides of our personality, of our business, etc. So if we can identify those and even put them on a list so that they're written down, they suddenly start to become reality, and they get kind of encapsulated so that maybe it is something that we can stop doing. We've all learned to stop saying some things which are politically insensitive or incorrect that we perhaps used to do without thinking about. We can learn to do it. We can learn to stop doing things. But maybe making a list of these negative thoughts, these negative processes, these negative reactions, and working on them by writing them down. It's a list that we can return to, and eventually maybe we can check off things that we stopped doing. So the articles that I found are, one of them, the Happy Teacher one down here, is almost like a mini course. She really goes through a lot as far as how to embrace the entire philosophy of stop doing. But Forbes has a nice one on your productivity, which will improve your productivity. And this other one is really about self-improvement. It's about improving yourself and improving your mental health and your outlook on life and how you do things. So the stop doing list might be a list that you decide to create. Good idea. I'll check that off in my stop doing list. And as I was looking for the stop doing list, I found a few people espousing the must do, should do, like to do kind of grid for their to-do lists. So they don't, when they create a list of things that they should be doing, they don't say just to do, but they demark them as this is something that has to be done, regardless of anything else. This is something that I'd like to do, but it's not absolutely essential. And this is something that I should do. It's, in other words, something that should be done, I don't like doing. So maybe that's the frog, right? It's that has to be done. And those go on the list. And you can color code them, or you can demark them as far as importance in a variety of different ways. But it's a different way to deal with a list to make sure that you're doing things that move the ball forward. Now, one thing that I've found actually, I guess when I started to work on my own, and that I think a lot of you may be feeling, is when you get stuck in an office environment or in a normal environment, you can often turn to somebody else that will help get you unstuck. You can go and talk to somebody to just clear your head, or there's a variety of different things that you can do to help get unstuck. We all come up with rhythms. But when you're on your own, when you're working in a home office especially, when you're stuck, sometimes it can be really frustrating, because if you break away from the office, if you break the routine and just go downstairs, chances are you'll get caught up in something else completely. And when you come back, you're just as stuck. Sometimes you come back and you can see it with fresh eyes. But what I like to do when I'm stuck is I like to say, okay, I'm stuck on this, but if I can get a win anywhere, if I can change momentum, it'll make it far easier for me to get unstuck from whatever it is I'm working on. So I go to something that I can do, that I can succeed in, that I can have some success and feel like I've made some progress. And then that, just the attitude that I come back to the thing that I was stuck with, the fact that in the last 30 minutes I haven't not gotten anywhere, but I've actually gotten something done, really helps me. It's just kind of philosophically how you look at things. If you look at it with a positive attitude, you tend to get unstuck more quickly, if that makes sense. And the next one that I'm seeing a lot of people writing about, and is learning about your rhythm. And when we work in an office environment, for those of you that still work in an office, you have a certain rhythm to your day. And that's predicated by when you travel to the office, when you arrive at the office, maybe when your breaks are, when you have different meetings. And, it can be the rhythm of your energy and the rhythm of your productivity kind of thrums to a larger organism, to your enterprise. But when you work from, especially those of us that work from home, it works. Your energy is going to be based on a different environment, your home environment, and sometimes it can be tough. But the key, I think, is to recognize that you do have a rhythm, and you should recognize it. You know now when you do your best work. Are you a morning person? Are you a night person? Are you a midday person? When is your energy and your creative juices flowing the most freely? And finding that and identifying that. And then as you set your schedule, set those tasks into the ones that need to be done into that rhythm. And if we match it to, I didn't even know this was the name for it. It's called the Pareto principle. Pareto principle. I always just call it the 80-20 rule. But the fact is, 80% of the work gets done by 20% of the people, or 80% of the success happens in 20% of the time. It happens over and over again, and it's one of those rules that just seems to work. But if you match your energy, your high energy times to the 80-20 rule, and you focus your energy, the 20% of on that 20, if you focus your high energy area on the 20% of the 80-20 rule of the stuff that has to get done that you can do, you can really become super productive. So things that move the ball downfield the most, things that really are the hardest to get done, matching those things to your energy times is a real recipe for success. Now let's move into the habits. And again, if you can change one or two of your habits and turn them from something that takes away from your productivity and take a habit and turn it into a productivity enhancing habit, that's something that is going to make a really big difference through the year. And so some little things that you can do that personally that I find help. And maybe a lot of this is my story and you see where I find challenges, but these are all things that resonated with me. First is to clean your desk before you leave work. Entering into a clean and work environment really sets you up. There's nothing more frustrating than coming into a work environment and having a mess that you've left behind. Now, sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes things are just kind of get past you. But we all know how we feel. You know how you feel if you're cooking and you go into a kitchen and you have to do the dishes before you cook? It's hard to create a great meal and to feel great about creating a great meal when that's the environment. But when you will walk into a clean kitchen with everything there and everything, it's it's easy to get inspired to do your best. So your work environment, your desk, having a nice uncluttered desk, having it clean as you enter, that is, I think it's something that you can do that gives yourself the best chance to do your best job each day. One of the things that I like least about my Apple Watch is that it would tell me regularly to breathe. And I thought, how just pretentious. But then I was reading a little. As I was doing the research for this particular module, I was reading a lot about the importance of breath. And so every time I read an article on it, I would do this. I would just stop and I would take a few deep breaths. And oh my gosh, well, do it with me. It calms you down. It slows everything down. It helps with clarity. When we breathe shallowly and rapidly, we are kind of in a fight or flight thing. And I think as humans, we tend to breathe very shallowly. I mean, all the research indicates that. But people who believe in how important breath is, there's a reason that they're so passionate about it. So let's do this. Just in the kind of thing. Just sit down, take a deep breath in through the nose, and exhale it through the mouth. Do it with me. And just think about how your head is racing right now. And then let's do this together. Do you feel it kind of settling? Even just with one deep breath. There's a settling that happens. At least I find a calmness that kind of comes over me. And so if you do have that Apple Watch and you don't turn off that just breathe, but you pay attention to it, or you, when you can, concentrate on calming yourself and putting yourself into a better mental state by breathing, it's worth doing. How do you form it into a habit? There's got to be a million ways. Maybe somebody can suggest, but I think it's well worth considering. And it's something that I am going to try and do. I don't know how I'm going to make this a habit, but I would love to make it a habit. I wish we could train ourselves to just deep breathe naturally, but it seems like as soon as you stop thinking about it, you go back to that kind of the shallow breathing, fast breathing type thing. The next thing is, I don't know where the philosophy of multitasking came from, that you can be as productive multitasking as you are doing anything else, but you aren't. Stop multitasking. Focus on one task at a time and do everything you can to focus on just one thing at a time. And, there's all sorts of philosophies that dovetail with the negative side, or with overcoming multitasking. Just the getting things done philosophy is just touch things once. When you open an email, get it finished, get it dealt with, just touch it once. You can't do that if you multitask, because the nature of multitasking is this. You might think because you have multiple things open and you see, and you're always doing something positive, that you're getting a lot done. But you aren't, because your mind is switching channels all the time. So you're never getting into flow. You're never getting into doing your best work. And you're having to always remind yourself of what's happening. And you're creating an inordinate number of open loops in your mind of things that you're juggling, which creates stress. And I guess you start to breathe faster and all those things happen. Multitasking is just, it's a siren song to lack of productivity. Personally, I now have two monitors because of video setup and because of other things, but I prefer people working with just a single monitor. So they just have one place for their attention to go at a time. And if you can just have one window open at a time, just have the one window open. But concentrate on a single task at a time. Don't multitask. Eliminate distractions, however works for you. If you're confident and comfortable that you can turn off notifications, do so. I realize that in every case we can't. But reducing the number of distractions that you have is going to play out as a huge benefit. You know how I feel about isolating and focusing on work by music, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But putting on your headset so that you can focus on the single task, get past multitasking. There's nothing better that you can do for overall productivity. And sleep. Have you been sleeping well through the pandemic? I go through fits and starts personally, but again, doing the research on little things you can do that are going to increase your productivity, right up there near the top of the list is if you get enough rest, you will get more work done and you'll have more energy to get through the day. Not to mention the long-term physical and mental health benefits of sleeping. So I've included a couple of links to a couple of blogs if you need a little bit of reinforcement on how valuable sleep is, but consider it. The last little thing that I've got before I finish things up is my buddy Mike Vardy talks about, he actually uses a type of calendar blocking. We're going to be talking about calendar blocking in a couple of weeks here on Webinar Wednesday. But he does this style of calendar blocking where he blocks entire days off for certain tasks. He has a video day, he has an editing day, he has a writing day, he has an administrative day, and he puts all of those tasks into that day rather than splitting a day up. And he believes that he can be far more focused on those tasks if he gets into that zone. And so, there's a few articles out there on Focus Fridays type thing. But I'm including a link to Mike's article about picking a day. If you have the flexibility to be able to theme your days, that might be another way that you can, and that might be another thing that you can turn into a habit that increases your productivity. I'll include also links to some of the other articles that I went through that kind of gave me grist for the mill as I researched and came up with today's content. But now I am really looking forward to hearing the tips that you're going to share with me and what's resonating with you and which of these things you might choose to do to improve your product. There we go. There we go. All right. Am I back? Let me just turn that up. There we go. And April, I'll bring you both up. There we go. Oh, there was a lot there.
There was a lot there. Good job.
Yeah. It's
Go ahead.
Oops. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I kind of laughed when you're talking about multitasking, just because the multitasking that I do on our Wednesday, I have like 5 screens.
Well, when we're talking about product, when we're talking about multitasking, when you're doing a live event, you have to multitask. You're reading comments, you're bouncing stuff, you're juggling stuff, and so. But you make mistakes at this particular point. It's self-inflicted multitasking that's the issue. It's when we are, we have an email going, and at the same time you are proofreading your daughter's work while you're writing an email for somebody else. That's the sort of thing that we all that we struggle with, I think, and that we should get past.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
And I know you're a chronic multitasker, and I'm trying to be like, and it does help just having a single monitor. Let's take care of a little bit of business before we get into the Q&A. Once again, I just need to thank all of our patrons who make Dottotech and Webinar Wednesday a possibility. Your guys' support is just incredible, and if you do find value in what we deliver here each week, it'd be great if you step up to the plate and say, yeah, I'm going to support Dottotech. We're going to help out. We're going to help do our part. For $10 a month, you get access to all of our webinar replays. This is available free for another week, but after that it'll be archived, but it's available to all of our patrons. So April, we have dropped the link several times through, and we'll drop that link again. And we do have one sponsor for Dottotech, which for Webinar Wednesday, which we appreciate, and that is Restream.io. It's taken us a long time to bring a sponsor on because it had to be a product that really fit, that we could use, that was a good match for us. And Restream is definitely a wonderful, wonderful partner. We shifted from doing these webinars as pure on webinars where you had to register, and we used a webinar package about 6 months ago. We shifted to this live stream social platform where we're streaming it onto YouTube and onto Facebook. And we couldn't have done that without a great technology partner. And Restream is the partner that makes it work for us. If you are considering getting into the world of live streaming, they will work for you as well. So I'll get April to drop the link for Restream. So thanks to the folks at Restream for your support as well. All right. Which dog was barking? Was that Maximus?
He's feeling better, yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, he's the only one who barks around here for the most part.
Okay. April has 3 dogs. All right.
Okay.
So we got lots and lots of questions. So do you want to read them out, or do you want me to?
No, I can read them. Some of them were answered in the chat, so I tried to remove them from our little sheet here.
And once again, what an incredible community! The number of people that shared their knowledge freely. I saw the conversations early on, which I had no idea about how people using hearing aids, how it interfaces with their other technology. It was something that I had absolutely no idea what works and what technology was in place. There were people that were sharing real value of their experience of making this.
We have a great community of sharers and collaborators for sure. I learned stuff from the chat. I mean, of course, I learn from you every week, but I learn from the chat as well.
Yeah. So
All
thank
right. So
you.
our
Thank you.
friend
Thank you.
Steve Whitley is asking, we spend so much time at our keyboards. What about learning to properly type versus the hunt, the peck that's lots of 60 somethings still do?
It's hard to settle. It's hard to. Do you remember there used to be all those programs? Mavis Beacon teaches typing and those sorts of
So
things to
funny,
learn to
Mavis.
touch type.
We still have the CD to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I could. Yeah, it's one of the best marketing campaigns ever. Was a company registered a URL, which was they took all the typos around Mavis, around I can't remember what it was, around some common thing, and they said where you want to go is this place here, but you typed in this location, but perhaps you should consider learning to type better. And they would have an affiliate link for Mavis Beacon teaches typing. They would have all these redirects
I
for
wonder how
common
much money they
typos.
made. Good for
They
them.
did really well back. They did really well back in the day. That's when you would type in the address always yourself. At any rate, yeah. I mean, learning to touch type is essential. There's a lot of comments and questions later on talking about the value of dictation, which for a lot of us tends to work a lot better as we for different types of communication. But yeah, if you have the patience to learn to touch type, yes, I would definitely encourage it. But in this ADHD world, I question how many of us will have that patience. I wonder. It'd be interesting to know. Like those of you who can touch type, great. It's good for you. But those that don't, do you think you have the patience to spend maybe 90 hours of practice that it's going to take to learn to do it?
Heck no.
I suspect not.
I like Google Voice, and I also like my teenagers that type way faster than I do.
Yeah. Siri dictation. Yeah. So there's technology gives us an out there. But if you can touch type, it's a tremendous asset.
All right. So our friend Nick is saying, do you still use the lighting with the new camera?
Yeah, lighting is always. I still am playing with the setup. We're still playing with the audio. We're still playing with the video. I changed out the lenses. You see the lens that I'm using right now is a different lens than we used last time. For those of you that are unaware of what we're talking about, is I rebuilt my creator's desk a couple of weeks ago to support us for both live streaming and YouTube and podcasting. So I basically reconfigured everything. I'm still fine tuning it. Right now, it's a fairly bright day out, and so I'm just using natural light. But it depends on the lens that I'm using. It seems to be one working better than the other, and I'm still kind of figuring out all of the settings for optimizing. But yes, I still rely on the lights, especially quite often I'm going to be filming in the evening when I have no light, so I have LED light set up. So so the new camera isn't that much better than the Brio as far as requiring light. More light's always better. You're always going to do better with more light.
Lance is asking, can you refer me to a scanner for PDF to email?
Yeah, your phone. Oh, for PDF to email. I'm not too sure. But if you're talking about a scanner to scan in and create a PDF document that you're going to send by email, your phone. So using Evernote's camera or Scannable, if you're on the iPhone, there's a variety of different products. Google Lens, I think, on Google, where you take a picture and then you send it to your phone. But your phone has now become the best scanner for documents, for flexibility. If you're a legal office and you've got multiple documents that you have to scan in, you need a document scanner with a sheet feeder. We're talking a whole different world. But for most of us, I think the last house that I purchased, when we purchased this house, we did all of the document signing using our phone.
And it looks like our friend George said Office Lens, and Jeffrey said Genius.
Office Lens. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Office Lens, that's the one I was thinking of.
Is dictation specifically in Word a time saver or a time sink, in Steve's opinion?
It depends on you. It depends on if you can think that way. A lot of us baby boomers grew up without dictation, and so we learned to type, and our thought process for creating, our composition of ideas works in conjunction with how fast we type, and there seems to be a rhythm to that. If you have grown up learning to dictate, you can think in a different pace, and your thought process works comfortably for dictation. I think it's an acquired skill. I think you learn to process and to kind of think about the writing process. What you're writing is going down, but you have a buffer between what is being written down or said at that particular moment and what you've just said. So there's context and the direction you're going, so that you have your kind of your content bubble. So all of that is happening. You've got this bandwidth of content that you're writing. if it works comfortably for you in the written word, writing it down, a lot of us, that's kind of how much space we have. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I see it very visually. Context, direction that you're going, and where you are. If you can do that by speaking, if you can see the information in 3D, then dictation works great. As long as you don't have an accent and the software really works well. I mean, it's the software, a neutral accent like mine tends to work really well with dictation. So I'm not often frustrated with the accuracy of the frustration. Oh, look at this. And Siri opened up and thought I was trying to dictate as it was going along, and it was writing down everything I was saying. It was ridiculous. But if you do have an accent, or it doesn't register well, that it seems to have a lot of typos, a lot of mistakes, that can be really frustrating. I can't tell you how often I've looked at it, having done maybe a 20-minute dictation piece, looked at it, been proofreading through it, see it's put a word in wrong, and being totally lost, even though I just said it. It came out of my mouth 20 minutes ago, going, what was I trying to say there? What should this sentence be? It throws me off completely. So it's got to be something that you test out. But overall, I'd say it's worth testing. But your mileage will vary. That's the bottom line as far as that goes.
All right, our friend Pete's asking, what's a good text-to-speech application for Windows 10? I can speak 2 to 4 words per second, but I can't type that fast.
I'm going to leave that to the community to suggest what the dictation they use. Google. I mean, if you work in Google Docs, Google has pretty good translation, has pretty good dictation built right in. It's always nice if you can set it up so that it's a keyboard shortcut. On the Macintosh, it's you can set up a keyboard tap. So the way the dictation is built into the operating system, I just hit the Option key twice, boom, boom, and it pops into dictation in any text editor I'm in. So it's really convenient having some sort of a keyboard shortcut. You could also program that into, there's been a lot of conversation, people talked a lot about the Stream Deck. You could program it into the Stream Deck as well as a shortcut.
Jeffrey's asking, do you think Stream Deck would work for teachers? I get frustrated switching between open apps.
Yeah, Stream Deck's so flexible as far as being a macro tool. You guys saw the interface that we worked with. As far as for programming, and that can be processed. That can be multiple step processes, or it can be just a single launch this application or jump to this web page or do this or that. So I think Stream Deck would be awesome. And the fact that it's got these little OLED buttons so that you can put icons on so that it's easily identifiable, and you can have multiple levels, you can have folders. I think it would be awesome for teachers. I think it's awesome for anybody who has lots of different types of documents that they have to go into on a regular basis and lots of different things. Yeah.
Let's see. Where does Stream Deck sit on your desktop?
It's right beside. I slide it in and out. Most of the time I slide it back so it's next to the ATEM. But when I need it, I use it a lot as an editing console especially for audio editing. And so then it comes down right beside the left-hand side of my keyboard, and my left hand sits at my right hand on the mouse. So that's the way that I use it. And the video that I'm going to share with you folks, excuse me. The video that I found of the fellow doing the demo, it's a really nice demo. He did a really good job. Most people think of the Stream Deck as a streaming tool because it's right in the name. But I think that there's far more value of it as that keyboard macro tool. And as in my introduction to it was not even as a keyboard macro tool, but was as an editing deck for doing, ripple edits on audio or requeuing or deleting. And we're just using it as a really quick little editor as I'm rough cutting through video or audio files. So you'll find some really interesting ways to use it.
What do you think of Auto Hotkey on Windows as free alternative to the not cheap Stream Deck?
It's great, except, well, it will do, but you don't have the ability, if you don't have, the beauty of the Stream Deck is the interface and the programmability. I haven't tested out the functionality of Auto Hotkey, so I'm sure it works fine. But the fact that we can assign graphics to the keys is that can't be overstated. Is it expensive? They're $100 or so. What's your time worth? I don't think it's a particularly expensive piece of hardware for what it does. It costs a little bit more than what a good keyboard would cost, but it does so much for us. So I think that you could, if you want to, there's certainly, any keyboard automation tool is a good idea, but the clarity, the problem is you have to remember all the keystrokes in. with the Stream Deck, you look and you say, oh, there's my thing to launch my podcast application. Boom.
All right. I've been using Keeper on Mac and iPhone for passwords. Are these 5 better than Keeper? Mentioning the ones that you were talking about.
I'm not going to. No, if you're using Keeper and you've been using it for a long time, I would be really upset if, based on anything that we say, that you changed, because it's working for you and it's as good as anything else. Everybody's always interested in, which one's better, which one's worse. I don't think anybody honestly can tell you. There's no way that anybody could do an in-depth enough review, and you'd have to gaze into the crystal ball to recognize what problems are going to come downstream as somebody tries to attack whatever service it is that you've chosen. So all of the ones that I listed are good, and there are so many others. Keeper is, if you've been using it and it's working for you, you're in the right place. There couldn't be a better one for you to use than that one.
Does Hazel work like Zapier? Cynthia's asking.
No. Zapier connects 2 different applications. Hazel automates file processes. So what Hazel does is it will take, for instance, if you, for us, when I finish editing a file, I've got this file that needs to be taken in, and it first of all needs to be compressed. And then I need to take that compressed file and I need to upload it to Dropbox. So there's 2 steps that has to happen to this file. I just create a folder. I drop the file, the edited file, into that folder, and then Hazel takes over and it goes through. It launches the compression tool. It squeezes the file down. It creates a new file to output, and it uploads that into Dropbox for me. So it automates those sorts of processes. If you have to rename files, if you have to break things up, if you need to, it does those sorts of processes. If you check out Brooks Duncan's website, Brooks Duncan is at, what's his site called? It's SnapScan. I think snapscan.ca. He does a lot on Hazel. And we've got the video that I'm going to share with you that's in the document. It will walk through the process. Zapier allows you to automate it, to have 2 different applications do something. So Zapier says, if you do something with this application, then cause this application to do something different. It's a different, it's not a workflow thing. It's a connection, an exchange of data back and forth.
Have you ever tried Splash ID for Passkeeper?
No.
Okay. Have you heard anything negative about...
Look, I learned how to say no. Did you see that? I followed my thing.
You did. Have you heard anything negative about RoboForm?
No, I've only heard good things about RoboForm, like so many others. Let's do this. We're up to 2 o'clock.
I actually only have one more question.
Okay, we'll do one more question.
I have hearing loss and wear hearing aids. It's difficult to use earbuds. Any suggestions? I notice Brain FM and use it when I can take my aids out. That is cumbersome and a waste of time.
So I know that there was that was engaged in the conversation. I don't have any value to offer there, but I know that within the chat they did deal with that some of the community members came in and added some support there. So I have nothing to add there.
All right. Okay, that is a wrap.
Let's put a button on this today. Next week coming up, we're going to be doing our App Wednesday, where we have a lot of fun, and we look at, we basically have a kind of a contest. And we've got all productivity specialists coming on next week, and we're only going to be talking about their favorite productivity apps. And then the following month, we are going to be talking about, we're going to be doing a lot on calendar blocking and some other techniques that we have to get right at kind of into the weeds of some of the most popular processes around getting a little bit more productive. Plus, we have some other neat things. I'm gonna one tease. We're gonna take a dive, and we're gonna go into. Oh, I've lost the name. We're gonna go into. Oh, good heavens! What's the matter with my brain?
I don't know. Are you talking about our new program starting in February?
No, I'm not talking about that. We're not talking about that yet. We can't tell anybody about this. Shh.
Okay.
Anyways, we'll leave it for now. Okay. Maybe if I take a deep breath. No, it's not going to come to me. Anyways, we've got great shows coming up. Thanks to everybody so much for all of the input that you guys provided. I hope that you found today's found it really valuable. We will be sending out an email with all of those links. It's an Evernote note that I send out now. Oh, I did see somebody asked about the Evernote course. Haven't done that yet. Thank God we didn't do the Evernote course when I thought about rewriting it in December, because then they just released the homepage, which changes everything. Still getting my head around the new around how that's going to work within Evernote, but so we don't have a course ready to go on Evernote yet, but Evernote is what we're using. So we actually share this note to you as an Evernote note. If you use Evernote, you can open it in Evernote, but if not, it'll just open as a web page. But all of the links, all of the videos, all of the resources will be there. Check your email. We'll be sending that to you. Keep your eyes open for next week.
No, I just want to say the replay will be out in the next 2 hours. So if you wake up, and I encourage you, we've had some deliverability issues with our service provider. So please check your junk mail. And if you don't get it for some reason, feel free to email me at april@dottotech.com.
Good stuff. April, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you very much. To all of our patrons, we appreciate you. To Restream, thanks for giving us a nice, consistent stream today. And that's it. Until next week, have fun storming a castle.
Bye, guys. Have a great night.